Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another video in the Tomcat. Today we're going to be trying to land this beautiful bird on that runway over there. Again, I am using Chuck's guide to learn this aircraft, so his landing section is the guide that I will be attempting to follow, as best I can at least. As such, there's a specific approach pattern in that guide. I'll put that up on the screen for us to all look at together. That is what I will be at least attempting to do. Hopefully it all works out for us. Any landing you can walk away from is a happy landing, right? Before we get started on the landing approach, there are a couple things you need to check in the aircraft, first of all, before you even hit your initial point. First, you want to make sure that down here, the anti-skid spoiler brake is set to both. There is also a little pad right here that guides you through the landing process. So armament would be safety off, fuel. I imagine you'd check that you've got enough fuel. Hook, if you're landing on your carrier, you're going to turn your hook, put your hook down. Or that might mean the hook bypass down here, which we do need to change from carrier to field. Then the anti-skid, which was that we set right there. Wings, wheels, and flaps will come later. Autopilot and auto throttle we don't have enabled, so we don't need to worry about. The DLC is the direct lift control, which is the leading edge slats on the Tomcat. Those are one of the last things that will turn on in this plane for the approach. And then we have, excuse me, and then we have the last step it says is harness. I wish I could tighten the harness sitting in the chair of a Tomcat, but unfortunately I am not, so this is just going to have to suffice. So we did those first few steps, so I'm going to unpause here. The speed and altitude that we want to be aiming for is about 800 feet and 350 knots at that initial point, so we're going to drop down a little bit. I'm going to drop throttle just a tad because we are starting to speed up. I am not the best at flying level, so we're going to see how much I bounce all over the place, but there we are. We do want to, before we get to the crosswind section, set the wing sweep back to 68 degrees. We might have to trim up a little bit to compensate for that loss of lift. We are now passing the runway. When we get to this fire, that's just the radar altimeter beeping at me because it thinks that I'm too low. Once we get to this fire, we're going to start turning into the crosswind section. Still trying to maintain 350 knots, so I'm going to have to speed up a little bit here, especially going through this turn. But we are going to, at this point, put our speed brake out. It's going to shake the plane a little bit, but that's fine. So we've turned around that point, and we want to now end up on that one. Our altitude has dropped a little bit, so I'm going to see if I can get us back up a tad. Right, and we are holding stable at 300 knots, which is good. I overturned because I missed my smoke pillars. Now that we're in this leg, we want to start seeing that speed drop down to 250 knots, which it is. At that speed, we can put our landing gear down. I'm going to throttle back down a bit. Once we hit 225 knots, we can put the flaps down. So the flaps are now going down. We're going to put the wings back to auto. They're going to go back out to 20 degrees. I should have actually done that before I set the gear down, but now we're going to stop shaking a little bit, hopefully. Change the HUD mode to landing. In theory, you can try to follow that EAOA indexer on the HUD. In reality, the Tomcat's computer was too slow at updating that for that to really be useful, so we're going to use the indexer to the left of the HUD. I just hit the DLC button to put these slats down. That's the button that you use for countermeasures, but when the gear is down and the flaps are down, it toggles the slats. So we're going to try to line her up here. We're going a bit slow, so I'm going to try to speed her up. Oh, now we're going too fast. Just my luck. And we've got her on the ground. We're just going to start pumping the toe brakes a bit. Slowing her down. Oh, don't slide around on me, please. And we have landed. I think that would have been a lot better if I had extended this part of the approach. You can see my smoke signals there. I think that I probably turned a bit too early. I think if I had gone out a bit more and turned in then, it would have given me a better final approach for the landing. But as I said in the beginning of the video, any landing you can walk away from is a good landing. So that was a pretty rough guide on how to land the Tomcat. Again, I'm still learning. My hope is that in the future, as I get better at this, I can post updated versions of these little guides that are both A, more informative, and B, just smoother all around. I would love to be able to eventually catch a 3-wire on the supercarrier in the Tomcat, but as it stands right now, looking at my landing on a regular runway, that seems like that is far off in the future. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching, and hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Thank you, and goodbye.